Hello, everybody, and welcome to Prioritizing Your Most Critical Security Findings with Microsoft Defender for DevOps. Microsoft Defender for DevOps is a brand new public preview offering within Defender for Cloud, which shifts your security left and transforms Microsoft Defender from cloud into a comprehensive cloud-native application protection platform. Now, what do I mean by that? With Microsoft's CNAPP platform, we embed security into every stage of the cloud-native application lifecycle, from build time to deploy time to runtime. We embed security into every stage, unifying security and compliance capabilities to help prevent, detect, and respond to modern cloud threats throughout the complete lifecycle. So alongside your traditional cloud workload protection, your cloud infrastructure entitlement management, cloud security posture management, and network security, you now have DevSecOps security. With Defender for DevOps, we aim to empower security teams and developers to collaborate on DevOps security management across multi-pipeline and multi-cloud environments. What this means is that within your GitHub and Azure DevOps repositories that all your developers work in, anytime you see a critical vulnerability or misconfiguration, we will surface those back into the Defender for Cloud portal through our Defender for DevOps Blade, providing a unified single pane of glass view of your multi-pipeline DevOps security posture. In addition, we have infrastructure as code security. Now, I imagine all of you are across many different cloud environments, Azure, AWS, GCP, whatever you may use. You are most likely deploying your cloud infrastructure and applications at scale through infrastructure as code and infrastructure as code templates. We scan a whole multitude of your different IAC template types, whether it be ARM, Bicep, Terraform, Helm, CloudFormation, and more, to provide that visibility to the security team of where those misconfigurations exist and empower developers to remediate those misconfigurations before they make it into production through pull request annotations. What I mean by that is that developers, when they submit a pull request to their main branch, and if it includes an infrastructure as code template, we will scan the IAC file for those critical misconfigurations that can potentially compromise an entire cloud environment, and empower developers to remediate those misconfigurations before they reach production by providing the severity level, description of the issue that was found, and remediation guidance. Essentially, we want to make it as easy and as simple as possible for developers to remediate security issues without needing to do exhaustive research into what the issue is, why it's important, and which issues detected are the most important. And lastly, we have code to cloud contextualization. Like I said before, Defender for DevOps lives alongside your other Defender for Cloud assets across your Azure, AWS, GCP environments, all those cloud resources. We want to take that cloud context and bring it to the findings, the static analysis findings that were found in your DevOps repositories. In addition to that, we enrich the cloud security graph within Defender for Cloud, allowing you to query and find the most critical attack paths that bad actors can take from code to cloud. But enough talking about it. I want to get hands-on with the product and show you all how it works. So I'm going to put my developer hat on for a moment, and as you can see, I'm in the Azure DevOps environment in a Contoso Hotels repository. Now, within this branch, I have a very basic ARM template here that's deploying a website to Azure App Service. This is just a very basic example, but as you probably know, with infrastructure as code templates, you can deploy potentially hundreds of resources through a single template. So if a misconfiguration does exist in this code, it can be propagated against multiple instances and can potentially compromise an entire cloud environment. If I were to do a pull request on this branch, I've already completed it. But when I go to my active pull requests, the Microsoft Security DevOps extension through Azure DevOps will scan the infrastructure as code misconfigurations using a collection of open source tools, including Template Analyzer and Terrascan, and identify where those misconfigurations exist. So as you can see in the IAC file I showed before, I was not using the latest TLS version that should be used within the application. And I set the FTPS state to disabled when it should be enabled for enhanced security. Now, these are just two of a multitude of different rules that we support through these different scanners, but all of these are to ensure that these misconfigurations never end up making it into production. Now, this was from the developer side. What we're doing on the security side is bringing security teams a single pane of glass view across all of the different misconfigurations and vulnerabilities that exist in your DevOps environments. For example, I have two connectors here, a GitHub connector and an Azure DevOps connector, both bringing in my repositories that developers are working in through both environments. We integrate with GitHub Advanced Security and GitHub Advanced Security for Azure DevOps, which we will see right after mine, to bring in the secret, dependency, and CodeQL results to the security team for that visibility, as well as our own infrastructure as code, container image scanning, and other artifact scanning findings. All that to give a single pane of glass view, an aggregated view of where your misconfigurations and vulnerabilities are, which of them are most critical across code scanning, IAC scanning, OSS, and exposed secrets, as well as providing native MDC recommendations to the security team about how to remediate and resolve these. So going to MDC recommendations here, you can see 3 recommendations were found for the repositories that exist in Defender for Cloud. Code repositories should have code scanning findings resolved. Code repositories should have secret scanning findings resolved. And code repositories have infrastructure as code scanning findings resolved. When I go into the IAC recommendation, I can see all of the affected resources that had an infrastructure as code misconfiguration identified in the repository. And I'm even able to assign developer remediation ownership on the repository by clicking the check, and then I don't think I have the permissions, but I would normally hit assign owner or change owner, and the dev would be notified through email about what repository they now have ownership over and what the vulnerability that exists in the repository is. You're even able to assign a due date. And if the security team wants additional metadata on each finding, you can simply click the sub-assessment and you get a wide variety of different information about this finding, whether it be the severity level, the status, so it's an unhealthy repo, what branch and what file the issue existed in, as well as URLs to take you directly to the repository and even directly to the pipeline build where the misconfiguration or vulnerability was identified. Now, as I mentioned before, we're enriching the cloud security graph in Microsoft Defender for Cloud so you can find where your most critical vulnerabilities exist in your DevOps environment. So here we see the Cloud Security Explorer. You're able to search alongside all of your cloud resources, your VMs, your SQL servers, things like that. You're now able to select your code repositories that you have onboarded to Microsoft Defender for DevOps. And we're going to select all the ones that allow public access, are internet exposed, as well as have a vulnerability. And when we hit search, it's going to execute the query, and we can see 3 GitHub repositories that have multiple CVEs identified within them and allow public access. Here we can see very critical attack paths that bad actors can take to exploit your repositories. In addition, we can click the CVE and it'll go in and tell you the exact security check that was applied and what the CVE was, the severity of it, so you know exactly what the issue that needs remediation is in your repository. The last thing I'm going to show you all is the DevOps workbook that we offer. Now, a lot of people want to use Microsoft Defender for Cloud for reporting. You know, you have GitHub Advanced Security, you have GitHub Advanced Security for Azure DevOps, but you want a way to report all of these findings that are found throughout each of these environments in one aggregated way. With our DevOps Security Workbook, we work in a very similar way to the other workbooks found in Microsoft Defender for Cloud, where we'll create an aggregated view and reporting mechanism across your secrets, your code, your OSS vulnerabilities, infrastructure as code findings, posture, and threats and tactics. You can go through each of these different tabs, and each one is customizable. If you want to change the query at all, you want to modify the way you're going to report on these issues, you're able to hit edit, and you'll be able to go through each one and make changes that fit the exact needs of your organization, allowing you to report an aggregated listing across Azure DevOps and GitHub of all of the findings that were identified in Microsoft Defender for DevOps. And going back to the blade here, this is all tying back into creating a comprehensive cloud-native application protection platform for Defender for Cloud. You have your CSPM, you have your cloud workload protection, but now we want to shift all of this security left and connect all of the findings from code to cloud. Thank you.